Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome back to another episode of Rewire to Inspire. This show where we'll dive into self-love, learn tangible ways to rewire the brain, and discovering your soul's purpose. The goal of Rewire to Inspire is to encourage listeners to begin doing the hard work, to get curious and open to maximizing your life. Our mindset shapes how we live. Depending on life events, traumas, and personal experiences, our mindsets are all vastly different. However, one thing we all have in common is the ability to rewire our mind, to change the narrative, and to pivot our lives. I hope you leave each episode with the belief that you are so worthy to live a life true to you. I look forward to chatting with you every single Tuesday and Thursday and helping you grow exponentially in all areas of your life. Without further ado, here's today's episode. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to my podcast, Rewire to Inspire. I'm your host, Jessie Brown, and I am so excited to be diving into number 76 with you guys. 76, that is crazy. That just hit me really weirdly to say that we're now closer to 80 episodes, and I feel like we were just announcing how close we were to 70, so it's just this constant growth journey, and it's so exciting. So hello, you guys. Happy Thursday. Happy November. I hope you are all doing terrific. I hope you are all taking care of yourself. I hope you all enjoyed Tuesday's episode as well. And if you missed Tuesday's episode, I really just broke down some things around pressure around the holidays, pressure around, spending all this money and how seasonal depression can affect us and just some different ways that we can begin to support our body, our mind, and our well-being during times of stress. And so if you haven't checked out that episode, I definitely encourage you to. But nonetheless, for today's episode, I have a question for you all really for today's episode. And I want you to ask yourself, do you feel like you're leaving your potential on the table? Do you feel like you are truly and honestly living your life to its true capability? And that's going to look different for all of us, right? Like what that means is going to look different for each of us because we're each unique. We each have unique purposes and destinies and reasons to be here. And we each all hold different gifts and abilities. But I want you to ask yourself, do you feel like you've just become comfortable doing what you're doing? And the reason this surfaced for me was because yesterday me and my partner were chatting and he was saying, I enjoy my job, but I feel like 30 years down the road, if I stay here, and again, this is no disrespect to his current employer because he loves his job and he's still going to be there for a little while and he's very good at what he does. But he was like, I feel like in 30 years, I'm going to regret if I don't do something else. And I was like, yes. Because anytime somebody has that mindset or feels that way, it tells me that they have a growth mindset and also that they want to maximize their life. I think so many of us get so comfortable doing things that we don't dare do it any other kind of way. Because if we're comfortable at doing something and we're good at it and we're making maybe decent money, why would we pivot and why would we change? But the thing I encourage you to ask yourself is, does it bring you optimal fulfillment? Do you feel like you're growing where you are? Do you feel like you're optimally valuable where you are? Do you think you're truly tapping into your potential? And this doesn't even have to be with your job. You could maybe have a side hobby that you could express this with, but I think so many of us leave so much potential on the table because we don't have the belief that it could be any different. And so I wanted to share a personal story with you guys for today because about 3 years ago, I was at a point in my life where I had just graduated from getting my social work diploma and I was working in the social work field and I just felt like this is it. This is what everybody has encouraged me to do since I was a little girl. Graduate high school, go to college, university, get a job. And I was there. Yet I was so unhappy. There was obviously days that I was happy and all those times have taught me so many lessons and things that I still carry with me. But I was really not that happy. And I think the reason for that now, looking back, is pretty obvious. It's because I wasn't tapping into my potential. I had just become so comfortable with a system of just working Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, and then outside of that, pretty much doing whatever, like literally doing whatever, watching TV, going for a walk, like, I don't know, going to hockey games, like just doing basic things. And now it's so interesting because my life is so reversed for me to go do those things. Like even tonight, we're going to see a comedian and I'm like, oh my gosh, like a Thursday night that I'm going to go do something different. Like it's more fun to do those things when they ebb and flow between me working really, really hard, because most of my evenings I'm on Zoom until 9 o'clock at night, or I'm recording a podcast, or I'm editing, or I'm working on content for some of my social media clients, or I'm reading, or I'm cleaning, or I'm cooking, or there just always seems to be something. And I love it that way because I'm very fulfilled in what I'm doing. But where the story began is because for so long, I just didn't have the belief that my life could look any different. And so I wasn't showing up. I was just okay with doing quote unquote the bare minimum because that's also what everybody around me was doing. By the time 4:30 hit, it was like, okay, work's done, like time to just enjoy life. And I was just felt so unfulfilled over and over and over again. And it wasn't until I found the Young Living community and the Next Level University community at the same time. And NLU, so Next Level University, is a podcast. If you haven't checked them out, definitely shameless plug for them. They are amazing. They are a huge part of my life and why I'm now where I am. And the Young Living community at the time was exactly what I needed. They just poured this extra belief in me and showed me that, you know, to own a business, to be an entrepreneur, to do all those things, you have to work for that. It doesn't just get given to you. And so I just got infatuably interested and excited about learning more and discovering more, and just this insane curiosity to just learn about these oils and learn about how to teach them and learn about natural healing and learn about the harm toxins has on our body. And so I was just starting to work my brain in a way that I never had before. And the thing about our brain is that it's a muscle, and it's just like if we go to the gym every day, we're going to start to see a difference. Our brain is the same. As we start to work it more and use it more and deepen it and challenge it and think differently and you know, read different books and cover different things, our mind loves that. You know, it's learning new things, it's laying down new neural pathways, it's filling itself up. And so I just started to have this new belief in myself because I was starting to grow and get around like-minded people and dream chasers. And at the time, people were trying to like level up and rank up in their business. And so that, you know, made me really curious of, oh, could I, because I loved the product and I loved learning about natural living and how much it's literally saved my life and saved my health. And I'm like, how can I teach this to even one person so that they can start to feel better? And then I just got into this super different headspace for the first time in my life where I felt like I had purpose again. And if you don't know a lot about my backstory or about me, for a lot of my life, basketball was my identity. And after I went through college and had a really hard relationship with basketball for a while after dealing with a very toxic coach, I struggled with my identity for so long. And so my identity for a very long time was just my job. And I loved it for the time that I was there, but it wasn't fulfilling my life, right? And so we each hold so much potential. We all are supposed to do more than just go to school to get a job to pay the bills. And if that's not already obvious, I hope that something's clicking in your mind right now of, that's so exciting. Like maybe you don't even really know what your purpose or your mission or what you want to do is, but even just knowing and having the awareness that you're so much more capable of doing anything than just that is so empowering, because you're like, oh my gosh, anything I do set my mind to, I can do as long as I do it long enough and with consistency, right? And with the right intentions and with the right headspace, you can move mountains more than you can ever even realize. It's been 2 years since I began this journey, and I went from that headspace of being so hopeless to the point that I didn't even see a point of continuing on in life, if I'm being frankly honest, because I just felt like, yeah, that's how it was. It's how my life was. It's all I deserved. But the more that I started to challenge that and put in the work, you know, honestly put in the work, because that's just it, is I think we push off doing great things because we want the results quickly, right? We don't want to spend the next 10 years grinding it out to eventually see the compound of that later in life. And if you're watching video, you can see The Compound Effect is right behind me. It is one of my favorite books because it encourages me to keep going. Maybe right now I can't see the significance of this podcast. Right now it's just a Thursday at 6 o'clock and I'm recording a podcast. To me right now, this is honestly pretty insignificant. It warms my heart and it means a lot to me, but I mean in the grand scheme of things. But in 5 years from now, who's to say the effects that this podcast episode's going to have? We don't know that. We don't know what lies on the other side of the compound effect and of hard work. And so the reason I thought of this episode is, again, I shared about my partner and his job, but I'm like, how many of us are just leaving so much greatness on the table because we don't have the belief or think that we're worthy of more than that? Have we just become too comfortable in our everyday things that we're not trying? And one thing that I hear a lot, and I've begun to challenge it more and more recently, is while we're maintaining a trauma-informed perspective of this, I'm going to say this with all the love. I think a lot of times we avoid things because they give us anxiety and uncertainty and overwhelmingness. But what if that anxiety, uncertaintiness, and overwhelming is just because it's out of your comfort zone and you've never done it before? And what if slowly over time, repeatedly doing that action, it just becomes easier? Right? Because there was 2 years ago, there's no way I would have jumped on a microphone. There's no way I would have pushed out content because I didn't have the belief that A, I could do it, B, anybody would care, or that I had the ability to think of content, yet alone produce my own show from start to finish. That's pretty cool to say now. But I wouldn't have got here if I didn't get through that massive discomfort for years. I went on my story on Instagram every single day, every day, for 2 years, barely missing, and just talking. Did I probably annoy a lot of people? Yes. Did I probably push a lot of people away? Yes, but that's what I felt pulled to do at the time. And now I know why. That was to work on my insane anxiety around talking around other people. I almost failed university because my teacher hadn't heard me speak. I would get pointed out multiple times in front of the whole class because I was the only one that wasn't talking. I've always had such bad social anxiety, especially in front of a large group of people. I can now say that I've given a speech in front of 100 people. I've given keynotes. I've 76 episodes into my podcast. I can talk now pretty effortlessly. And yes, it still gives me those little pieces of anxiety. But the reason that I'm sharing this with you, my original point, was because I'm so passionate about mental health and about a trauma-informed perspective and about listening to your body and honoring your body. But the thing that we need to realize is that our mind is always trying to keep us safe, right? It's always that one step ahead of us. And what if your greatness lies just on the other side of that, but your mind is telling you all the ways to hold you back? But what if your mind is wrong? What if your mind is tricking you out of greatness because it's just scared? But what if through a gentle approach of just slowly exposing yourself and slowly trying new things in a safe way, you're able to find the capacity to rewire your brain to know that that can become safe? And this is the part that I'm saying that I don't want it to come across harsh, but in order to grow and to improve our mental health, we have to challenge ourselves and we have to do hard things. And I say that with all the love because I know that that can sound harsh because, again, I'm very passionate about listening to your body and only going, as fast as you feel like you can go. But at what point do we draw the line? At what point do we say, I've been keeping myself safe for a little too long? Right? Because there's always that fine line and that fine balance. And we can overswing that pendulum where we feel like we've then done too much and we're actually causing ourselves to be in an anxiety zone. And I've shared this before. There's a difference between your anxiety zone and your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is something that wouldn't necessarily be detrimental to get out of that. And you'll probably feel like a rush of high of adrenaline after and feel really good. But your anxiety zone is something that's literally, almost in a way, I lightly say, a small t, traumatizing your body. Because things can just become too much too quick. And we don't want to go there. We don't want to go in our anxiety zone because that's not going to want to make us want to persevere forward. But I want you to think of that thing in your mind that you maybe have been wanting to do, but you just haven't been doing it. Or you're curious about it, or you're pulled to do it, or you're wanting to do it, but maybe you haven't done it because you don't have all the answers. which you will figure out the answers as you go. Trust me, I didn't know a thing about podcasting when I got started, and I'm just slowly figuring it out. And each day I put a new piece of the puzzle together, and eventually it's going to come together more, but it's never going to be completely complete because we never stop learning and we will never have all the answers. But when we just keep pushing things forward and pushing them, it's actually just a way of keeping ourselves safe if you think about it. If I don't do it today and experience pain, I went another day of not having to deal with it. But what if you started today and then in a year you're like, wow, I'm so glad I started, right? There's a book and it's called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And the number one thing that is shared in that book of the top regret that people have when they're dying is that they wish they had the courage to live a life true to themselves. How powerful is that if you think about it for a moment? If, let's say, your life was going to end in 10 years, you knew that. You knew exactly that you were going to go in 10 years. Would you change how you're living your life now to work towards something? Would you change your mindset when you don't want to do something? Or would you say, hey, I want to look back on this and remember it? And the thing is I think we get so comfortable at wanting that instant gratification that when something long-term causes pain, we push it away. But what I've learned through massive pain is that it's through that we find greatness. It's through that we can find alignedness. I would have never stumbled upon a community that is so in alignment if I didn't continue to get out of my comfort zone. Group coaching, for example, is a program that Next Level University offers. And I remember the first time that I went through that program, I was so out of my comfort zone, if at all, maybe at times in my anxiety zone. I was so overwhelmed. Anytime we had to speak, I could feel my heart racing. I wanted to throw up. It was just so much for me. And then skip ahead 6 months later, after doing little bits of work on myself and showing up on my story, it got a little bit easier. And then I got around the community again. And then another 6 months later, so a year after doing the program the first time, I did it again, did the program again. And then by halfway through the program, I was actually chosen to come on the team, and I'm now the assistant coach for group coaching. Me a year ago was terrified to even speak, and now, a year and a half later, I'm the assistant coach in that program. And I'm not saying any of this for ego reasons or to talk about myself. I want you to think about yourself. Where do you think in your life you could be so much more ahead in a year and a half if you just get out of our damn heads, right? We tell ourselves all these things based on false things that don't even exist. We often place our fear out of irrational thinking of maybe something we've witnessed from somebody else or maybe something in our past, but that you don't have the guarantee that will happen again. And by telling ourselves that people will judge us, not going after something because we think people will judge us, not going after something because we're scared we're going to fail, not going after something because this, that, and the other thing, you will never have that thing. If you cannot have that hard conversation with yourself of, if I am not willing to play the game, I will not get the prize. And the prize in this situation is fulfillment, and it is your potential. Don't be okay with just breezing through life. And I'm not saying, I have a different view on this. I want to work hard every day because I have massive dreams and massive goals. And I know the only way to get there is to show up every day. It is to be disciplined. It is to have a calendar full of things and barely take those days to go sit on the beach because I just have so much I want to accomplish. But we all are on spectrums of this. But I still think that no matter what, we all leave so much potential on the table because we're just so good at being comfortable. We're so good at it. And I'm good at it in areas of my life that I want to improve in. Of, okay, Jessie, you can be better than that. And you know you can, because you wouldn't be sitting here feeling crummy about it if your body and your mind didn't at least know there was more potential out there. If you see somebody in your life out there crushing it in an area you want to, doesn't that just tell you that if they can do it, you can do it? But you don't know all the behind the scenes things that go within that. Some people might just say recording 2 episodes a week of a podcast is super easy. I encourage you to do it and then come back and let me know. because it's very hard and very challenging, if I'm being completely honest. And what is your thing in your life that might be second nature to you or might have become easier for you, but if I were to try that thing, it would almost seem impossible, right? The reason I want to share this episode is because I don't want you to wish one day that you had done more. I don't want you to wish that you had done that thing, wish that you had tried harder, wish that you had been more disciplined. Don't wish, make it happen. And this is across the board with our dreams, but also with fitness, with nutrition. Don't keep wishing you looked a certain way and then eating a bag of chips every night. Don't keep wishing you were smarter, but you never pick up a book. Don't wish all these things if you're not actually doing the things to get there. We have to be a little bit harder on ourselves. And I'm going to be that person to give that hard truth because I care about every person's potential so deeply, but only to the extent that you care. And it's going to take time, and it's going to take discipline, and it's going to take hard work, but I promise you it'll pay off more, and you'll thank yourself so much more than just being okay with being basic. And again, you get to decide what that potential looks like. That doesn't have to equal the same as my potential. It's whatever you feel suited for yourself, and only you know that. And the thing is, for me, is I didn't even know I had potential. That's the whole other side of this. I couldn't even fathom that I had the potential that I'm now discovering that I do now. And that's because now I'm around people that believe in me and are pushing me to become more, and it's contagious and it's rippling and it's making me want to just become more. 2 years ago, Jessie wouldn't even believe this version of me could exist. And I know that this is just going to keep duplicating forward, but that's because even now I have an ounce of belief that it is possible. And that's why I feel so strongly. And I want to share this with each and every one of you, because you have it within you. I promise you, my friend, you listening right now, put your hand on your heart and tell you yourself, you are amazing and you are worthy to accomplish so much, but not until you get out of your own damn way. And I know that this episode is a little bit more intense, and I'm doing that on purpose because sometimes we need those people. And I hope to be that through your headphones, through your speaker, through your whatever, to echo that to your subconscious mind that you are worthy and capable of so much more. Even if you feel like you're putting in a 9 right now, a 10 right now, you can do more than that. I know that you can. It's about getting those excuses out of our head, doing it again in a slow, safe way. Don't just rush and push ourselves into our anxiety zone, but do little things often that are outside your comfort zone and notice how it feels. Do little things often that kind of scare you, because I promise you'll thank yourself. I promise you that you will. And I want you in 2 years to look back and be so dang proud. I want you in 5 years to look back and thank yourself for starting when you probably had all the reasons of why you shouldn't. Figure out instead all the ways that you should and reasons why you should, and allow that to guide you, allow that to push you forward. Because our mind will keep us safe, will keep us small, will keep us comfortable, because that's its job. It's our job to challenge that and to fight against that, because we're also worthy of it. So I truly hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Know that everything I share, no matter how I share it, I get very passionate, but it all comes from my heart. I share it because I've been on both sides of this, and I still know that right now my potential is probably at a 5 or 6 based on how I know my potential can be eventually one day. And that's okay. I'm working my way there, and that's all we can do is just keep putting 1% forward, 1 foot in front of the other, and to keep going. So thank you guys so much as always for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. I hope you enjoy. I hope that this landed. I hope you know how much I care about you, and just know that you're so worthy to make these shifts in your life. And I promise that you'll thank yourself more for doing them than to have the regret and wishing that you would have started in the first place. So thank you guys so much. All the love. Until next time. Bye, you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. I absolutely love connecting with you all, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. I am at Jessie Brown 13. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to leave a review or share with someone you think would enjoy. I look forward to chatting with you all next episode. And remember, get out of your head and into your heart.